It's amazing to me how many people have been through things like what you described in your video.
I spoke at a conference last night in Baltimore, and when I got done, there was a couple people I could see in the crowd that every time I speak, there's always a few people I can identify in the crowd that are like they're getting the emotional reaction out of it, you know. And there was a guy that was in. There was one guy that I noticed him. Unfortunately, he didn't approach me afterwards, which I understand. He was going through it, you know, and he probably wanted to say something and didn't because of embarrassment or something like that. But anyways, there's a line of people I'm talking to after the event, and there's a guy that's in the line. I see him about 4 people back. He's a tall guy. He's probably 6'3", 6'4". He's a big black dude. He's nice. He's nice dressed. Got a little like hat on, beard, glasses. I can see he's got like neck tattoos, and he's got gold teeth. He's got a couple gold teeth. He looks like he's probably been through some hard times, you know. And I kind of noticed him in the line. That was the first time I noticed him though. So I'm talking to a few people, whatever. And they get out of the way, and this guy's, I mean, he's massive, and he looks like a tough freaking guy, you know. Just I wouldn't mess with him. Mm-hmm. And he stuck his hand out, shook my hand. He said, "Thank you." And then he fell apart. He just started crying. And he's probably 40, 50, maybe 60 years old. And he just started crying. And I gave him a hug and I held him. And he's bigger than me. And I'm like holding this guy. And he's sitting there crying in my shoulder. And he just kept saying, "Thank you, thank you, thank you for saying what you said and telling your story the way that you did." And he said, "I hope that one day I'm strong enough to tell my story the way that you do." And that, to me, is, I told those people at that conference.
That's why we do this.
That's why we do this. I don't have a blue check after my name. I don't have 1 million followers or thousands of views or billions of comments on anything that I post. If you looked at my social media, it's probably not impressive, but the metrics that I do have now are like "you saved my life" metrics. And I'm 40, 50 years old, and I've never told anybody in my entire life what's happened to me, and you're the first person that I've told. I've had people tell me, after hearing you speak, I went home and told my wife exactly what happened to me and why I am the way that I am, and now I'm going to go get therapy. Now I'm going to go get counseling. And so that's what's been incredible about this whole process. And I know exactly how those people feel because I was that person at one point, you know. This is all like serendipitous. Like I am here because I saw Clark Frederick's interview.
Right.
And when I saw his interview the first time, I remember, I think I was sitting in my car, I think, when I watched it. And I was like, you know, I saw like a 30-second clip and I was like, holy shit, like this guy gets it. And what I loved about Clark was he was like a big, imposing guy. He wasn't this like shell of a man who was, I'm sure he was maybe at one point in his life, but when he was telling his story, it was very powerful and like stoic. There's something about him that was just powerful. And it wasn't like, this happened to me and my life is over and I'm defeated. It was just powerful. And so when I saw that, and he was just very raw.
Like you.
Yeah, exactly. Just like me.
You and Clark were about as raw as they get.
Exactly. And so that's why I was like, because most people, when they talk about this, they don't want to share any details. And I think
there's power in share, like you were just graphic.
Yeah.
Like you shared the graphic details of what happened to you when you were, like, how old was it?
10, 11, 12.
10, 11, 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I think the more honesty and the more details you share, the more you can shed the weight of it.
Yeah. And it, you know, it helps because when people hear sexually abused or molested, I think oftentimes they're like, oh, like his weird uncle touched him once or twice. And it's like, you know, Clark's story, he was brutally raped by a man when he was 12 years old. Not like a chill moment or like there was nothing calm about it. And even in my situation, probably 400, 500, 600 occasions of abuse over the course of nearly 6 years, you know. That was just with me. There was another boy involved. And so the reason why I get so graphic and why I think it's so important in certain occasions is because it brings a context to the whole situation. You know, I wrote a book, and in the book, I only tell a handful of stories. You know, I can't tell you 30 years of stories. There's only so much so much time and words that you can put into something. So I think that's where the more graphic you are in certain occasions, like the better it is, because it does add that level of like severity to it, where people are like, oh shit, like he didn't just get, touched once or twice. This was like a ongoing battle, which is incredibly traumatic for a lot of people, So when I saw Clark share his story, I felt it in me. And so I reached out to Clark, and I met Clark earlier this year. And like getting to meet Clark, I wish I would have had more time with him. We were pressed on time, so I had to go meet him and go. But when I got to meet Clark, I mean, I know how the people who reach out to me feel, because I feel the same way about like somebody like Clark. Mm-hmm. And even like interacting with you, I when I first saw that, I was like, holy shit. Like, so I didn't know who you were. So then I ended up finding out who Mark Leda is, and did my research and come out and meet you and get to share my story with you. That was a very, very like big moment in my life. And then ask you to write the foreword, and then you agreed, and I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, holy shit, like if there was one person in this world that I wanted to talk to, it was you. And to get that response was just like, man, it's so I know how those people feel when they tell me that I've saved their life. And I'm only freaking 30 years old, man. And I just had somebody just this morning actually message me on Instagram and told me that, ever since I've been talking to him, I've been talking to him for about 3 or 4 weeks now, probably longer than that, maybe, just about different things and how to cope and what I've done to heal, different books that I've read that have helped. And it's really cool, man. It's just cool to be able to help people get through it. I've learned so much.
What kind of things are you learning?
So I've read a handful of books over the last year. 2 of them that are really good are Dr. Bruce Perry. He's like a world-renowned, like maybe not world-renowned. He's world-renowned to me. He's like crazy. He's just incredible. But 2 books that he wrote is, one is the boy who was raised as a dog, and What Happened to You. And so those 2 books, just incredible. If you have any history of trauma, anything like that, I've never gone to therapy. That was one of the things that was in the comments on my last video. Was you can tell he's been through a lot of therapy. You can tell he's done a lot of work. You can tell he's seen a lot of people or done this or that. I've never in my life seen a therapist.